Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at the most obscure unlockables in Zelda games, quirky items with limited uses that have been mostly forgotten or left behind by the series. But before we dive in, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Tingle Tuner, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Starting off, we have what is one of the most well-known obscure items, which may seem like an oxymoron. However, while the Tingle Tuner isn't forgotten per se, since it's easy to find and Wind Waker is beloved, it definitely fits with the quirky and limited use categories of our criteria. Given to Link by Tingle for freeing him from Windfall Island's prison, it resembles a Game Boy Advance themed after the exceptionally weird character. You could never use it unless you actually had a GBA and a link cable to connect it to your GameCube. It gave you access to a secret shop as well as a side quest involving Tingle's brother, Knuckle. The HD version replaced it with the Tingle Bottle, another obscure item that allowed you to send messages to others via Miiverse. But the tuner has been rediscovered by many thanks to Wind Waker being accessible through Switch 2's member subscription, where it, of course, can't be used. Stone of Agony, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Another item themed after a separate Nintendo device that also requires you to have said device in order to function is the Stone of Agony from Ocarina of Time. This is given to Link by one of the cursed family members after collecting 20 golden Skulltula tokens. It resembles the N64's Rumble Pack, and when one is plugged into your controller, the Stone of Agony will cause it to rumble whenever Link is near a secret grotto that can be opened with a bomb or the Song of Storms. It was definitely useful back in the day to discover secrets, but it's still funny that Nintendo chose to theme certain items after their own inventions and require players to own them. BowWow, The Legend of Zelda: Four Swords. Chain chomps from the Mario series have popped up in a few older games, sometimes as enemies, or in the case of Link's Awakening, a missing pet that Link must reunite with its owner. That specific chain chomp has a name, BowWow, which inspired an actual item in one of the more obscure Zelda adventures, 2002's Four Swords. BowWow can only be found in the final area, Vati's Palace, and its chances of appearing are rarer than most other items. This makes sense as it can lunge around, eating anything in its path, even munching through other players so you can steal their rupees. It's not surprising that BowWow hasn't been an item since. Can you imagine running around Tears of the Kingdom with a freaking chain chomp? Actually, I'd very much like to see that. Stepladder, The Legend of Zelda. The stepladder from the original game isn't necessarily an item with limited uses. It's actually quite useful, as it allows Link to cross single-space gaps of water or lava, which can be handy in dungeons or for reaching other areas in the overworld. However, this is one of the most dull, ordinary items you could put in something as magical and whimsical as Zelda, and that's what makes it such a weird inclusion. Naturally, as the ability to swim and either jump or hookshot across gaps was introduced in the series later, the stepladder only appears here. We have to imagine it would be a pretty underwhelming unlockable to get in a newer game today, regardless of the series. Cane of Byrna, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past features a lot of one-off items with limited uses. One that's completely optional and pretty easy to miss if you don't know about it is the Cane of Byrna. You'll find it in a hard-to-reach cave on the Dark World's version of Death Mountain, near Ganon's Tower. It sits at the end of a lengthy passageway covered in spikes, meaning you either need to have Red Potion or fairies to survive walking through, or the Magic Cape, another optional item that turns you invisible and invincible. The Cane of Burna is like an updated Magic Cape. Both use the magic meter to make Link immune to damage, but the cane also produces a barrier that hurts enemies. Unlockables like armor and spells would grant Link immunity in future games, but the Cane of Burna has sunk into obscurity. Nat Hat, The Legend of Zelda: Four Swords. The new gameplay hook of the Minish Cap was allowing Link to shrink and explore the charming world of the Picori. It's one of the best parts about the game, but it was inspired from a simple item that has only appeared once. The Nat Hat can be found in Four Swords, similarly letting Link shrink down. It's mostly used to pass through small tunnels to reach new areas, and stand on platforms you'd normally be too big for. Unlike Minish Cap, there is no exploration factor, zooming in on the world to navigate miniature communities, so the Nat Hat is used much more sparingly. Since this shrinking down mechanic was expanded on for a full game and is intrinsically linked to it, the Nat Hat has been mostly forgotten. Complimentary ID: The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. The Wind Waker saw the debut of Beetle, a goofy but charismatic shopkeeper who would appear in several games afterwards. After purchasing 30 items across his shops, you'll earn the silver membership reward, the complimentary ID. With this, Link can give it to Beetle at any point for one free compliment that apparently makes Link feel so good about himself it restores his health. In a similar vein, you'll earn gold membership status after 60 purchases, as well as the Fill Up coupon, which refills health, magic, bombs, and arrows, but sadly comes with no compliment. These days, Beetle has no such rewards program, and these types of incentives have been left behind. Magical Key: The Legend of Zelda. In most games prior to the modern open-world entries, Link would have to find small keys to get past locked doors inside dungeons. However, way back in the original, you could find an item that made small keys useless. The magical key can unlock any door. However, you won't find it until level 8 in both quests, and since it's obviously an optional item, it's naturally obscure. It also appeared in Zelda 2, where you could actually get a bit more use out of it, but since Nintendo wanted us to experience every room and puzzle in specific orders in the games going forward, the magical key was lost to time, only tied to the NES games. The Book of Mudora: The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The Book of Mudora isn't the only mystical book you'll find in The Legend of Zelda, but unlike most others, like the Book of Magic in the original, it's an equipable item you need to pull out at specific moments in A Link to the Past. This makes it more something you use, though those uses are understandably pretty minor. It allows Link to read ancient Hylian text, which lets him enter the Desert Palace dungeon, pull out the Master Sword, and obtain the Ether and Bombos medallions. Unless Link became a sorcerer in a future game, we can't imagine a book taking up an inventory slot. Obviously, it hasn't been forgotten by A Link to the Past fans, but it is an odd type of item that hasn't been seen in most games. Green Chu Jelly, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. There's nothing more obscure than an unlockable that isn't meant to be there. In Twilight Princess, after Link defeats one of the blob-like chews, known as choo-choos in most other games, they leave behind jelly that Link can scoop into an empty bottle. Different colors bring different effects. Red and blue Chu Jelly act the same as their respective potions, and yellow Chu Jelly can refill Link's oil lantern. However, chews can sometimes merge together and form a different color. If a yellow and a blue chew merge, which can only happen on a specific floor in the Cave of Ordeals, they'll make a green chew. Scooping its jelly into a bottle in the Wii version comes with an empty description box. But in the HD version, text was added to state that it doesn't look all that tasty. Drinking it does nothing, but the item was likely left over from when Twilight Princess included a magic meter, which was removed at some point in development. What are some of your favorite kooky or forgotten items in the Zelda series? Share your thoughts in the comments.